earlier today, but I did say I would be back on with Love and Marriage Huntsville. And so I am back. This is Vlog Media Brees, journalism in a vlog. So welcome back. I'm ready to go right in on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Um, it is getting better and better and better and better. I just don't even know. It is better than the Real Housewives shows, okay? So I'm going to go right in. This one is called, as you know, the television show's production names all of the episodes of these reality shows. Love and Marriage Huntsville, it aired last night, and it was season 3, episode 5. The name of it is Tacos with a Beef. I tell you, tacos with the beef. Okay. So it starts out pretty much where it left off with Kimmy and Maurice at the restaurant. And we know Maurice has to leave early as he's on the way out. Up the stairs come um, Kiuwha and her new husband, Xavier. So they are approaching the table. Maurice is no longer there. And this clearly was a production effort, I think, because why would Maurice overlap his schedule? We know how refined he is about everything else in his life. So why would he overlap his schedule? But I digress on that, right? So Kiowa sits down with Xavier. They start to talk about Maurice and why he had to go. So, personally, I think Kimmy did a good job speaking for Maurice, even though she said she was not going to speak for him. She did a really good job speaking for him. So she's definitely a wifey, the perfect wifey for him. Okay, in this instance, anyway. As Kimmy and Kiowa began to talk, I started to look at these differences, and these similarities. Maurice clearly has a type. He clearly has a type. Well, both of their names start with a K, okay, and the second letter is an I. Okay, so that's one thing. Kimmy and Kiowa, they could almost be twin names for someone. I digress. Kiowa, as she sits down, you can see her nonverbals. She looks like she's saying, "Bitch stole my husband." That's what that's what I got from Kiowa when she's sitting down. Kimmy starts to tell them why Maurice isn't there and everything. Xavier, he also interjects. He starts to talk about what he's doing with I guess, a football team that he's a coach of wherever it is that they live. I think it's in Michigan somewhere. I'm looking at Xavier and Kiowa. Maybe Kiowa does not have a type. I know I have a type. I've stayed true to my type. Kiowa does not have a type because Xavier really does not, in the physical appearance, measure up to Maurice. He seems to be a little rougher around the edges. He seems to potentially need to, you know, take better care of the physical part of his outward appearance. I definitely think that. Long way from Maurice. I digress. Kimmy starts to tell Kiowa about Monster's vaping. Now they call him Monster, but when Kiowa referred to him, Kiowa says, "Little Maurice." That's how she referred to him. So that's the first time that I knew his name was. He's named after his dad, Maurice Jr. So it is very clear that Kiowa is doing this for the appearances, but she doesn't really care for Kimmy. And Kimmy thinks, in one episode, I think last year, Kimmy said she got the prize. So she thinks that there was a war between she and Kiowa, and she got the prize, which is Maurice. So if you didn't take this woman's husband from her, why would you think you got the prize? You felt like you were at war with her to get him. because that would be the only reason for you to say that, Kimmy, you little adulterer, allegedly. I believe what Kiowa believes. A wife knows. She knows, yes, she knows Kimmy stole her husband. I know a lot of people out here on YouTube just don't believe that. I do. I also know that Kiowa is beautiful. Kiowa is beautiful. If she was to come down some pounds herself, she would outdo Kimmy. She has gorgeous features. I digress. Next, we are in the scene where Letitia and Destiny are trying to have a hot girl summer. They both come in their jeans and their white tops. And I'm going, okay, did they plan this? This is the second time that I've seen people on Love and Marriage Huntsville dressed alike. Is this a thing? Because remember 2 episodes ago, Marcel and Melody had on the same plum-like colors whenever they met at her house. He was wearing shorts. His shirt had the same colors as her dress. Is is this a thing in Huntsville? If it is, it's okay. You know, I can get with that. At any rate, um, okay, what am I? Where was I at right here? Okay, Tisha and Destiny are at the automobile dealership, and they let the man know that they want a hot girl car and also a pickup truck. They're going in the hot girl car first. While they are waiting for him to get the keys, they have a conversation, and this is where they start to talk about the baby weight and everything. And Tisha says something about maybe the baby is moving out of the way for a new one and that kind of stuff. And that's when Destiny lets Tisha know for the first time that she is divorced. And Tisha goes, "What? Destiny, no. Well, you look good." And Destiny says, "Well, thank God I don't look like what I've been through." You know what, girl? I feel you on that one. I feel you on that one. I agree. I want to pause right here, pause for the cause, and say if you are coming in on the replay and you are listening to this, please click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button as well. We're talking about Love and Marriage Huntsville. I'm at the part where we're talking about the hot girl summer with Destiny and Tisha at the automobile dealership. So, um, after she finds out about Destiny being in amid her divorce, Tisha is like, girl, I feel you on this. Um, then they show Tisha in her confessional saying that she was surprised about Destiny and LeBaric because she didn't know anything about that. She didn't see it coming. And then she goes on to say, of course, Mel and Martell, that was a long time coming. The shade, the shade, the shade, the shade. Okay. Of course, Martell and Mel, that was a long time coming. Tisha, did you have to say that? Could you not have just commented on your thoughts about Destiny since that is the most present conversation in terms of a divorce right now? Um, she goes on to, and they start talking about Tisha's trip to Houston. And Tisha says, you can't trust these Houston girls. This girl walked up to Marsau and was talking to him, had this red dress on, her boobs sticking out and a slit all the way up. Now, okay, you all, the girl she was talking about is Kyra from Owen's other show, where I can never remember the name of the show, but it's where, Black males and females of a certain age come together to try to find love. I cannot think of the name of that show. At any rate, um, she says that Kyra was trying to come on to Marsau. And that is not true, you guys. That is not true because Kyra, back at the scene in Houston, Kyra and Marsau, the cameras never showed them interacting at all. Never. You would see the camera span to Kyra, then it would span to Marsau. Then at one point it showed them coming from what looks like may have been the bathroom area, at one point, and then Tisha goes over and grabs him, and Kyra just smiles at her and goes on her way. Now, in a different interview, Kyra said that point right there was the only time she saw Marsau. She said, and the only thing she did was they happened to be coming out of the bathroom, coming up the hallway at the same time, and she just said, "Hey, how are you?" And that was it. She wasn't trying to come onto your man, Tisha. I mean, I think even that part of this episode, not this episode, but that part of last week's episode was a setup by cameramen. I don't think that Kyra had any interaction with Marsau at all. At first, I thought that it could be because he was like, "My name is Marsau. How are you doing?" He kept saying that to all the ladies there, but you didn't see him interacting with any men other than Tommy in Houston. So, you know, she goes on, she's talking to Destiny about the trip to Houston, and she mentions everything that I just said that she mentioned. And then they show Destiny in her confessional saying, Letitia can be very optimistic about her relationship and Marsau not cheating, but we've all heard the rumors about the children being out there. So I hope those Houston women were talking with Marsau and not the other way around. Well, it was Marsau. Marsau was introducing himself to every woman in the room with his wife there. Next, Mel calls while they are at the dealership. And Mel says, "Listen, I'm on Tuesday. What are you guys doing?" And they say, "Oh, nothing." She says, "I'm just trying to have a fun ladies' night, and I just wanted to call and invite you guys to come over." Destiny asked, "You having Tiffany too?" And Mel said, "Yes, that's my homegirl." So now we find that Tiffany's going to be there. Destiny now knows that Tiffany is going to be there, so at least she has that heads up. And so they've been invited. They get off the phone. Destiny tells Tisha about Tiffany's tea, meaning the way that Tiffany brought the information about the other woman being with LeBeric on the night he got an award. And she tells her about that. And then she says, she lets her know that it's Mel's friend, that Mel had invited Tiffany to the birthday brunch. And that she just wondered if Mel, had known anything. So Tisha says about Mel that she probably would have told you already. Tisha speaks for Mel because she doesn't want to have any more smoke with Mel because they are on their way to a better relationship. Destiny continues to tell Tisha about all of the information that Tiffany dispelled at her birthday brunch, including bringing up that monster vapes in the bathroom. And Tisha says, "You know what? I don't like her already. She's messy." And we'll find out later that Tisha actually knows her. But the name Tiffany is so common, she at this time in the dealership, she's not thinking about the Tiffany that she knows from the Chamber of Commerce. She's just thinking that it's some girl named Tiffany. So they go out, they get in this black Jaguar. Honey, that car sent my dreams to a whole nother level. I hope Tisha gets that car. That is definitely a hot girl car. I don't know. They say you shouldn't get a black car. They say they peel, even on expensive cars. They say that black cars peel. So I digress about that. I'm not one who knows much about cars. Listen, as long as I can get around. And so we move on. I wonder if Tisha is buying this car though, because she kept saying, okay, Maurice bought me a watch, but that was that. And she really wants a car. So I wonder if, not Maurice, but Marsau. I wonder if Marsau is going to buy this car for Tisha because now they have these businesses. They are still working on the development part of businesses. And Tisha is in real estate, as we learn. So the next scene, Marsau and Tisha are at Dr. Francis' office. They meet up. Marsau compliments her. I'm sorry, Tisha compliments Marsau. She says, "You look nice. How was your day?" And he did not compliment her back or ask how her day was or anything. He did not repay the compliment. These Scott men, I tell you, I just can't with these Scott men in Huntsville. So they go into the office. This is Dr. Francis's office. This is the same psychologist who met with Mel and Martell. And remember, Martell said he didn't like him. Just a little flashback to you. Martell doesn't like anyone who calls him out on anything. He just doesn't. That's why I have not missed him. He wasn't in last week's episode. He is not in this week's episode. And I just do not care that he's not on the episodes. I have not missed him. Marsau goes on whenever Dr. Francis sits down, he says, well, I want you guys to relax. And he's just trying to make them feel comfortable. And he communicates to them about being comfortable and relaxed. And Marsau interjects and says, look, I'm sorry, is this like a counseling session? A counseling thing? And Tisha looks at him. She says, yeah, you know. And Marsau says, well, I was not aware this was happening. And then they show them in their confessionals together, couple confessional. And Tisha says, that's why it's always better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And then Marsau goes, you heard it here, folks. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And he kind of sits up and closes his shirt and all that kind of thing. Listen, Marsau, that does not apply to your cheatery thoughts. That is not what that means. You cannot use that against her. It is not better for you to ask for forgiveness than permission. In fact, you need permission for everything, Marsau. You need permission. You need to keep her abreast of whatever it is that you're doing. And we're going to get into that here shortly. In this session, Dr. Francis continues, and I forget what he asked Marsau to make Marsau say this, but Marsau says to him and to Tisha, look, I just wonder why we're trying to fix something that's not broken. And Dr. Francis is like, whoa. Uh, Tisha, I want you to look to your husband and tell him why you're here. And Tisha says, she turns to him and she talks to him. He looks at her and she says, I'm stressed. I'm mentally drained. I have to take care of everything around the household. We have these businesses. I've just finished working on my 2 masters in real estate and I have the children. So I'm stressed. And I need you to help me bear some of this burden. I want to pause here and say, why does anybody need 2 masters in real estate? An 18-year-old can go take the test in any state, and if they pass it, they can get into real estate. So I don't know why, I don't know what she's planning to do with her 2 masters in real estate. I don't know if she's trying to avoid getting a broker's license, because in some cases, if you want to be a developer, you might not have to take the broker's license, seeing as how the classes encompass that. So I do not know why she needs 2 masters in real estate. I thought she had maybe a master's in business administration and wanted to go back and get a master's in marketing or something like that. When you are running a business, if you are wanting to really be smart about it, you would get your master's in marketing, because marketing that business that you're going to run is going to be very important. So next, Dr. Francis says to Marsau, "What do you hear your wife saying?" And Marsau says, "I hear her saying, I don't know how to deal with stress of everyday life." Are you kidding me, Marsau? She just told you she's dealing with the stress of everyday life. And it's really stressing her and she needs your help. You all get in the comments and tell me what you think about Marsau, because I'm thinking, I am hoping this is just for television. This cannot be real. However, I think it's not for television. I think it might be real, just because of how the Scott brothers are. You can see they are not filming together, and when they are shown in separate settings, they think alike. These dudes are just alike. You can tell they grew up in the same household. As you can see in my title, it says Dr. Francis goes in on Marsau, and Marsau can't take it because he can't. Marsau goes on to tell Tisha, "You're only facing what other women have met." I just be doggone, y'all. I tell you, y'all, listen, I'm not violent. It would have taken everything in the palm of my hand not to have it meet the side of his face. I wish my husband would say, "You're only facing what other women have met." I wish he talked to me about other women, period, doing something I'm not doing. I It would be, oh no. I digress. I want to say that I believe that Marceau likes separating whatever Tisha does from what he does so that he can cheat. That space of separation allows him to be a cheater. He wants to keep Tisha in the dark. He completely ignored her feelings in this counseling session. Completely ignored her feelings. He negated everything she brought up instead of trying to work with her. Even said to her, "Look, the house is paid for. I've made it easy for you." Are you serious, Marceau? I don't know what Tisha's going to do, because you can tell that she loves this man. She loves him with all her heart. I remember when Mel and Martell, when we first learned about Martell cheating, and the cameras sh- uh, showed Mel in the backyard of their previous home, and there was a swing set back there, and she was on the swing set swinging. And that moment was so real. You could see that she had it on her mind. What is she was thinking about some serious things. What am I going to do, because I love this man? He's cheating on me, but I can't continue to take this. She was on a swing, swinging back and forth. And you could tell she was contemplating leaving him. He wasn't at the house at that moment. She was probably even thinking, I wonder, is he with her? This is where I see Tisha heading, you guys. And I don't know that Tisha is strong enough. I believe Marceau knows that Tisha isn't strong enough, and he plays on her feelings about that. Back at this counseling session with Dr. Francis, his name is Dr. Kitson Francis. That is the words that came up on the screen. The faces he's making about some of the responses Marceau is giving, Dr. Francis seems to be done with Marsau. He knows this dude is hopeless, and he's a psychologist. So he knows when there's some hope in your marriage and when it's hopeless. He he tells Tisha, Marsau tells Tisha that she's overspending. No, he tells Tisha that, and he also tells Dr. Francis that. Dr. Francis looks at Tisha and says, "Tell your husband whether or not he is right. He thinks you're overspending. He thinks you're out here," and for lack of a better word, I'm kind of paraphrasing. He thinks you're out here bamboozling the money. So look at him and tell him whether or not he's right. And Tisha looks at Marsau and she says, I'm taking care of everything. You spend money on just you. I spend money on me plus 3 children. You don't take the children shopping to get clothes. I do that. And if I need something while I'm out, because everything else I do in the household, I might buy me something. You all, Marsau, he completely ignored this information. He ignored it. Dr. Francis then looks at Tisha and says, I'm going to tell you this. Cognitively speaking, he can talk himself out of a rock quarry. Now, you guys, a rock quarry, if you're ever stuck in between a rock quarry, you can't get out. You really have to push yourself out. So, Dr. Francis is saying he can talk himself out. The rocks will move. And Tisha says, I know what you're saying, because oftentimes he and I will be in a conversation and he will walk away and then come back to the conversation. But the bottom line is he always has to get what he wants. Women, pay attention. Tell your daughters to pay attention when they're dating. It is important to pay attention so they don't end up with men like Marsau. You don't even really want to end up with a man like Maurice, except I would say Maurice has at least some redeeming qualities about him as a man. Marsau has zero. Marsau has zero redeeming qualities when it comes to being a husband. I'm trying to understand whether or not he had enough girlfriends in high school and college, or did he not have enough? He is compensating for something. He's compensating for something. So women, pay attention. Tell your daughters, a man raises his voice at you, a man exhibits certain characteristics, you need to dump him. You need to date on someone else. And then make sure he ain't stalking you. Dr. Francis looks at Marsau, and I love what he said to Marsau. Because you guys, the way we love ourselves is how we treat other people. He says to Marsau, do you love yourself enough to be able to love your wife and to understand your wife and how she wants to be loved so that you can love her? But the first thing Dr. Francis said was, do you love yourself enough? Do you love yourself enough to be this man? Dr. Francis, I, I can tell he probably does not watch the show, or maybe he does. Because those of us who have been watching Love and Marriage Huntsville from season 1, we have seen this Marsau time and time again. He shows up every season. He doesn't miss a beat. We've seen him, Dr. Francis. I want to pause here, you all, and tell you there was something that came on, and it's called Diamond Nexus came up on a video, and they had like really beautiful diamonds. So if you know someone's getting married, and I'm not monetized or anything like that. At the same time, I did go into their website, Diamond Nexus. You should try it. Another thing that came up was something called thrivemarket.com. You can order food there, and it's probably a good idea to do that. I'm not getting paid for any of this. My channel is not monetized. I'm going to order from thrivemarket.com just because the food lasts a long time. And I do not know about the rest of the states in the United States, but here in North Carolina, we are already beginning to run out of food, even in the Walmart, in the Food Lion, in Harris Teeter. So I just wanted to pause here and remind you guys to really stock up with water. They were out of water today when I went into a particular store. And thrivemarket.com seems to have food that will last a long time because at some point, we may have to go without food for a couple of months. So you're going to want to use that. I also want to pause and say this, I'm seeing the troll come back. Because the troll comes, then the troll leaves, the troll comes, and the troll leaves, and I keep seeing it. So get down in the comments, tell me what you think about Love and Marriage Huntsville. I'm going to finish out this session telling you about the counseling session with Dr. Francis. Dr. Francis gets Marsau and Tisha to agree on having a date night, to do something together to take their mind off the stress and to help them with the romantic side of the marriage, because your marriage has to have a romantic side that needs to be ongoing, ladies, okay? And gentlemen. That marriage needs to, I don't care how old you get, that romantic side needs to always be intact. And just when he gets Marsau to do that, Marsau turns to Tisha. He says, okay, what do you want to do? And Tisha says, I want a date night. And he says, okay, tell me when. Tisha says, okay, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Marsau then pulls out his phone. Yeah, Marsau offended me so much in this counseling session. I was so torn with offenses from him that I have, in those moments, I have already built up a wall. Now I've got to go tear my wall down. He pulls out his phone and says, "Hey Siri, remind me Thursday, 8 p.m. date night." Dr. Francis was through. He says, "Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I don't need Siri to remind me of anything important. What he has done, he has just made an appointment with you and you're his wife. Are you okay with being an appointment?" She says no. I I just in this counseling session alone, the next day I would have to have him served with divorce papers. Just in this counseling session alone, he would get divorce papers the next day. I would have had an attorney intact in waiting before I went into the counseling session. And then after this counseling session, I would have texted my attorney and said, send them. And I would have had everything prepared. Someone at the house packing up the kids, the clothes, whatever. I'll just go get an apartment somewhere. And I got my two masters now. I can make it on my own. We can run these businesses together because you're going to give me half of everything at this point. I'm not going to be fighting for months with a man who can't get on the same page with me about the very basic attributes of a marriage. Anyway, then he continues to joke in the counseling session on their way out. Uh, He's like, you know what, Dr. Francis, I think we should do this once every, and he pauses because he knows what he's about to say. Because even me, I thought, okay, he's going to say once every week. He said, I think we should do this once every 15 years. No, really, doc, I think you cured me. I think we're good. I'm fixed. Dr. Francis just, he just he laughs it off and just lets them go. When they get outside, Tisha expresses to Marsau the importance and the seriousness of coming back. She lets him know they need to come back. He then begins to raise his voice at her. I don't know if you noticed, but he raises his voice at her saying, you know what? You and him, you were in there talking about things that were not true, and you're making it look like I don't attend date night when I do attend date night. Which I have not, I don't know. He said you're the one who's busy. And Tisha may need to examine that because I have seen them on 2 date nights where and Marceau has been there. For that, he may have a point, but that does not take away from the other issues that she brought up that she needs help and balance with. Um, she loves him. She walks away. She says, "You know what? Maybe we should just not do this at all." Turns around. He watches her walk away, and he starts talking to himself. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but he just starts talking to himself. But you guys, that was kind of the highlight of this episode 5, season 3 for me. So next, as this episode 5 is, you know, getting ready to end, we go into a meeting with outside, actually they're at the Space Center in Huntsville. It's called the Space and Rocket Center. I know people from Atlanta used to go to that rocket center in Huntsville. They would drive there. I never went. We have friends who are from Huntsville, actually, and they actually know some of these people. Um, so Monster is very good looking to me. He's a very good looking young man. They meet with him after they leave the Space and Rocket Center. They're sitting outside, little round table, and they start talking to him about the vaping. And he's just sitting there looking. I couldn't tell if he was mad about the conversation because he kind of looked upset at with them, looking at both of them. Even if you are parents and you are separated, that was a really great scene. I loved that scene where Maurice, and I'm glad Kimmy was not there, but because I loved that it was Maurice and Kiuwha and their son. Because he had to sit at that table and watch both of his parents in agreement about who he's about to become and what they expect of him. You guys, that's so important. That's so important. I do agree with Kimmy in that co-parenting does not have to be contentious. People need to put their differences aside for the sake of the child or the children and bring them up to be really great, positive people in society. I don't like that they call him Monster because his name is Maurice. So I'm going to start calling him Little Maurice. I also noticed something else in this scene. Kimmy said that Maurice doesn't listen to her, but in this scene, we have proof that he did listen to her because she advised him to be preemptive about having discussions with Monster about things he's going to run into in his life. And Maurice was very preemptive because he brought up the S word. I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but the SEX word. And so Kimmy should be proud of him here because he listened to her. When he found out when he brought up the girlfriend that that little Maurice is interested in seeing back in Michigan, when he brought that up, he also brought up the S word to let him know about being responsible about that. And that's when little Maurice said, "Well, yeah, I'm not doing it till I'm 24 anyway." He said, "I want a healthy marriage." Shade. Shade to the wise. Okay. So now we're back at Tiffany's house. I'm not going to spend long in her house because I was smothering to death. I was smothering. It was just too compact. And this is Tiffany and Lewis's house. Listen, if you are ever going to be on television, make sure your house is clean, that it is intact. We want to see the luxury, the cleanness. Even if you don't show us your closet, you need to put your pocketbooks in your closet and not have them hanging on a wall somewhere, all two of them. I understand not having many pocketbooks because I don't like to take pocketbooks either, but the pocketbooks I have are high quality. They're very high quality. And I make sure they're high quality because I do not buy them often. I'm not going to change pocketbooks every time I wear shoes. I'm just not that girl anymore. They don't need to match my shoes. They just need to be neutral and be able to carry some things around. And so I get if she only has two pocketbooks, but we don't want to see them hanging on the wall. That the house was just too compact. It really was. And Destiny's house is not too compact. So she had the audacity to be throwing shade at Destiny about her husband. Woman, clean out your own house first. Do something with your own house first. Take care of your own house first. There's some kind of saying out there like that, okay? If you're going to come for Destiny, you at least need to be as clean as Destiny, okay? Then her and her husband start acting silly and hugging and showing off and being really. I was just uncomfortable with that scene. I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Now we're back at Mel's house. And my vision was so glad to get away from Tiffany's house to Mel's house because it was enough room for me to kind of at least look around, see some things, to be clear and clean. And it was just like refreshing. Tisha and Mel are in the kitchen. Tisha tells Mel about Dr. Francis. Tisha likes to pretend her marriage is good to Mel because she starts out telling Mel that she went to Dr. Francis for her. Deep down, Tisha, you went to Dr. Francis for your marriage. Or maybe you went to Dr. Francis so he can help you when you get ready to leave your marriage. So I wonder if Mel knows about the conversation uh, with Tisha and Destiny. I just wonder if she knew about that conversation previously, just because of the way that her and Tisha were were having the conversation. Because Mel, she was really into what Tisha talked about with Destiny. Tisha told Destiny, Tisha told Mel that Destiny said, "I wonder if Mel knew about the conversation." Um, and that's not what Destiny said to Tisha. That's not what Destiny said to Tisha. So Tisha's being messy right there. But I do wonder if Mel already knew that Tisha and Destiny had had a conversation because she was just too well. She needs to hurry up and get here. She needs to hurry up. I'm gonna need her to hurry up. The next person to arrive is Tiffany. Mel gives her a Mexican hat. They're all wearing Mexican hats. Tisha, after Mel introduces her to Tiffany, learns that she knows Tiffany. And she knows her from the Chamber of Commerce. And this is, I'm always looking for words that Tisha is going to phonetically mispronounce. And there were a lot of them in this episode. I just didn't have time to take them all down. But in this one, in her confessional, she goes, "I know her from the Chambers of Commerce." Tisha is Chamber of Commerce, not Chamber. It's not Chamber of Commerce, it's Chambers. I digress on that. Tisha says to Tiffany, "I heard you've been stirring the pot." Um, and they have their little conversation. Then Kimmy comes in. She sees Tiffany there. She says, she has not seen Tiffany since Destiny's birthday brunch when she brought up Monster vaping. And she says that she's not going to bring it up there at the party. She's just there to eat. She said that's a conversation about Monster that needs to happen with Maurice present. Destiny has to call from the outside in the heat. It looks like she may have been standing out there all of about 5 minutes because she did have to make the phone call. She rang the bell a couple of times. No one came to the door because Mel was outside with the other ladies and couldn't hear the doorbell. And she lets Mel know how hot it is. She comes out, she gets her. Mel can't wait to get started. So she tells Destiny, Tisha knows Tiffany from the Chamber of Commerce. And she also tells Destiny, Tisha said you got something you need to talk to me about. Tisha said you got something you need to talk to me about. Destiny asks her kindly, with food in her mouth, can you please wait? And Mel just being rude, she wanted to continue to force the issue. If someone's telling you they need you to wait, they don't want to handle it right then wait. Don't force the issue. Destiny says she wanted to have it private just between her and Mel. And Mel just kept on forcing the issue. And then Tiffany, they say Tiffany did this and Tiffany did that. So Tiffany says, well, what did I do? And Destiny said, you served ice cold tea. And Tiffany says, well, I don't remember anyone ordering tea. And Destiny says, that's because you brought it. And Mel says, do you think she intentionally came with some tea? And Destiny starts coughing on the food she's eating. And while she's coughing and choking on the food after she's told Mel to let it go, she goes, well, a hit dog will holler. So that was Mel. So Mel just keeps the conversation going on. And that's how it ends right there at the taco dinner. So that's why they entitled this Tacos with Beef. Because they were having tacos, but they had a real beef going on. So next week is going to be real interesting. Wanda's back. Martell is back. And Wanda's standing there trying to talk um, Mel into taking Martell back. Wanda just comes with stuff. They don't need to bring. I kind of liked these episodes without Wanda. I did not miss Wanda, but we'll see next week what happens. I certainly did not miss Martell. I could do without him on the show, but I'm sure that they're going to keep bringing him. These are 2 episodes he didn't get paid for, so Mel should be a little nicer about that. So that's it, you guys, for Love and Marriage Huntsville. And I guess I will see you in the next one. As I always say, many blessings to you and have a great weekend. And tonight it's Real Housewives of Potomac.